been a long while since I've done anything like this, which is purely a ramble, me sitting in front of a camera and just jabbering away. I figured that the last few videos that I have uploaded have been more productions, which has meant that I've had to sort of plan things and play around with things in post-production. But I realise that I do miss the simplicity of doing ASMR videos, and hopefully this is one of them. If this is something you'd like to see more of, then please drop me a line and let me know. So, which brings me to the subject matter of today's whisper. I've been tagged by the lovely Magician83, who has asked 10 questions in regards to music and music preference. Now, I'm aware that this has done the rounds a billion times across the ASMR community, and I'm probably a little late jumping on the bandwagon, but I'm here regardless. So, what I figured I'd do is, just for a little bit more interesting, I think, is I will write down the answers to my questions on this whiteboard, and hopefully that will pick up a few sounds. And I've got my microphone directly above there. You might be able to see the microphone head there, so hopefully that's not too distracting. Okay, so without further ado, I will consult the questions. I've had to copy them onto my iPhone because I didn't have a copy of them on the tag itself. So the first question is the Beatles or the Stones? Okay, I can answer that one in a heartbeat. There you go. And my answer to question one is the Beatles. Now, that might be backwards on the screen itself, so I do apologise, but it does say the Beatles. My reasons for choosing the Beatles are purely my own opinion, and I find the Beatles to be absolutely engrossing. There's something mystical about the Beatles. They were together such a short period of time. They defined the modern music industry. They were the blueprint of every band, basically, that happened afterwards. They created the LP, the album tracks, the singer-songwriter collaborations. They played with sounds and styles, and I think it's very easy to underestimate how seminal and groundbreaking they really were. They were a breath of fresh air when they first arrived on the scene. Very striking, and I just fell in love with them. Now, the interesting thing is, my parents weren't Beatles fans in the slightest. It was just me. I discovered them myself. So I do love them dearly. The Rolling Stones, a very brilliant band too, which have got legions and legions and generations of fans. But I just found their niche was R&B. That's rhythm and blues, not rhythm and bass. And they stuck to it. And Jagger is a very dynamic front man. There's nobody can take that away from him. He's got that presence. But I just found the fact that they kept going and going, their appeal lessened, I think, over the years. But hats off to those guys for keeping going all those times, all those generations and decades. But the Beatles, for me, were a brief shining star. Like a lot of good things that don't last, but their legacy remains. And I just find them captivating, and I'm a huge fan. And as you will see, I've got a bit of a thing about the 60s in general. before I move on, but the 60s for me, we started off with kind of, I don't know, an overhang of the 50s and all these twee, Cliff Richard in the Shadows, but we then moved to Jimi Hendrix in the space of 10 years. So for me, the 60s was a wonderful generation, and it was so eclectic, and it was a melting pot of styles and genres, and I love it. So let's move on to the next question. Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin? Okay. I should try writing backwards. I'll probably be able to do it. But my answer to question 2 is Led Zepp. To be honest, I don't know a great deal about either bands. I know Robert Plant was the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. I know Pink Floyd, very experimental, prog rock. Is that right or wrong? Both bands which probably started off in the 60s but came to their fruition in the 70s. Now my reason for Led Zepp is a personal reason and a nostalgic reason, and it is my late dad, who was a huge fan in his younger years, and he collected all of the LPs and albums, and I still have them, and I wouldn't part with them for the world, and I've got to choose Led Zepp for that reason. So yeah, Led Zepp it is. Question 3 is the first album that I ever bought. Yeah, I remember very well the first album that I bought, and it's not it's a very unusual one for me. Oh, I'm going to try and write this backwards actually, see how it works out. Yeah, that's right. Wow. See how this turns out. Enya Watermark. When I was a kid, I remember seeing in one of the Sunday magazines an advert for a record club called Britannia, and basically what it was a club that you could join where you got an editor's choice every month. But the thing that drew you in was the fact that you could choose 5 LPs of your choice, and you wouldn't have to pay a penny for them. So I saw that advert and I instantly was like, my God, I've got to join that group. So I sent off and chose 5 albums, but the one that I wanted the most was Enya Watermark, and Enya performed Orinoco Floor on Top of the Pops here in the UK, and I was mesmerised by her. So I didn't tell my parents that I joined this Britannia music club, and when the records came I kind of ran upstairs with them. Couldn't believe that I have 5 brand new spanking new LPs to my name, and then the editor's choice came the month after, and the month after, and the month after, and we had to pay for them. So my dad ended up going ballistic when I was getting letters asking me where the payment was, and he bailed me out, but he told me never to do that again, and it still sticks in my mind. The other LPs were Michael Jackson's Bad, Yaz and the Plastic Population. I forgot the other ones. Probably weren't that good, to be honest. But there you go, that was my first LP. Number 5, do you play... Oh, sorry. Number 4, favourite album of all time. Favourite album of all time. Can that be a compilation? Can that be Now I'm going to pick an album, a classic album. Okay. My favourite album from all time. Oh, I've just thought of another one as well. Can I have two? Okay. Wow, I'm writing very easily backwards. It's a little bit scary. But I've got two albums which I'd like to choose. Hasn't quite worked out on that one. It's Radiohead, The Bends, and Erasure, The Innocents. Now, that Bends album, which of course has fake plastic trees and High and Dry, it's so mellow, and it's something which reminds me of a really great time in my early years, and I can listen to that album the whole way through and not skip a single track. It's beautiful, and Tommy Hawk's vocals are just sublime and mellow and very melancholy, and that kind of vocal always attracts me. Erasure, The Innocents again reminds me of summer 1989, and I know every track word for word and the running order of the album itself as well. It reminds me of going down to Essex. I live in the northeast of England, but we travelled down to Essex to a family member's house, and we played that non-stop on the way there and back, and magical days. Yeah, wonderful. So yep, that's my favourite album of all time, just because it's good music and it speaks to me. It does a lot for me. Number 5, do you play any instruments? I do indeed. I play okay. The instrument that I play is the guitar. I'm a left-handed guitarist. In fact, you can probably see one of them behind me now. But yeah, I've been playing guitar for about 10 years, and I'm not very good. I fumble my notes quite a bit, but I do. Guitar. I've got another acoustic there as well, and I've got a 12-string upstairs as well. It's such a shame that I've never really learned how to play one traditionally. It's all just been got started off with a few friends and went from there really, but I do love playing guitar. I never perform though, that's the thing. It's purely, generally just for my own purposes really. I thought one of the later questions I noticed asks about original material, and I'll elaborate a little bit more at that point. So let's move on. In your mind, whilst playing this instrument, do you pretend to be anyone? Okay, so I guess there's a difference between being inspired by somebody and wanting to be somebody, and I'm pleased to say that I'm more inspired. My playing doesn't sound like anybody that would be famous, to be honest. I fumble notes, and usually stop playing the song instead of a real trooper who just keep going and try and pick up where, after you've gone wrong, I will just stop and want to start from the beginning again. So really I would never get to the end of any song unless I have the chords written down in front of me. That works, but it wouldn't be very good in a performance. But my inspiration, the person that made me want to pick up the guitar, was two people, and it was heroes of mine. Two absolute heroes. Okay, and those two heroes of mine are Paul Simon and Leonard Cohen. Wonderful, wonderful songwriters, wonderful instrumentalists, and if I could play a quarter as good as them, I'd be very, very happy. Two absolute gods who are still playing today, and yeah, wonderful. But I don't sound like any of those people, to be honest. Okay, moving swiftly on to the next question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool do you think Iggy Pop is or was? Well, I guess the question is, who is Iggy Pop? I am lying there. I do know who Iggy Pop is, of course. And I'm actually on Google now looking at him, and that's the guy that we're talking about. That is Iggy Pop. Okay, my thoughts on Iggy Pop are that he doesn't take himself too seriously by all accounts, and I like that in a person. I try not to take myself too seriously, but he's incredibly successful at what he does. Musically, I couldn't tell you anything particularly memorable about him. What did he sing? Did he sing Passenger? Yes, he did. I knew that was the one. And musically speaking, there's not a great deal that he has done that's been groundbreaking, but there's certainly been some classic songs in there. So the question was, how cool do I think he is, or was? Do you know, I'm going to rate the guy quite highly. It's not asking me what I think of his music, it's asking me what I think of him, and I'm going to give him a 10. Iggy Pop is a cool guy. He is absolutely very successful in life, and seems to have a lot of fun. I don't know what's going on with the hair though. I think he needs to sort that out. Only joking, of course. It's entirely up to him what he does. And question 8 is, if you had to be a groupie roadie for any band, who would it be? Groupie, but sleep with a band. Well, that would be telling, wouldn't it? Okay, is that 2 separate questions or 2? If I was a roadie, okay, here's a weird one for you. I think it would have been pretty cool to be a roadie for Oasis, purely because I think I would have had a lot of fun watching Liam and Noel Gallagher beating the crap out of each other. I think it would have been a real laugh seeing that, but I'm actually going to say, in reality, a group that I would love to have spent time with is something highly unusual. 1960s, and it's the Mamas and Papas. And my aunt sign is not right there at all, is it? But the Mamas and Papas were a vocal harmony group from the 1960s, and behind all those peaceful well-being harmonies and sunshine folk rock, there was a very hard edge. There was a lot of drugs, there was a lot of relationship problems that were going on in that group as well. But the really cool thing about the Mamas and Papas, they were the first mixed-sex rock group ever, and they kind of paved the way for Fleetwood Mac and ABBA even, I guess. But they lived such a great lifestyle in their brief career. Regardless of what you think of some of the individuals, John Phillips has had his share of bad press as well, I know. But it is the stuff legends are made of. They actually almost single-handedly created the Flower Power generation and the Rock Festival. They created Monterey Pop, which was the forerunner to Woodstock, and obviously everything that came afterwards. But they were really cool. They brought a lot of people together, and they made me very happy with their music and their 4 distinctive personalities: Mama Cass, Denny Doherty, John Phillips and Michelle Phillips. They came in all shapes and sizes, but they sang beautifully together, and what a legacy they left behind. So I would have loved to have spent some time with them. And there's a story behind the Mamas and Papas, which I might share in another whisper at some point, but I actually did get to meet one of them, and maybe I can go off on that tangent on another one, but I'll get back to the questions. When did you last air guitar? Probably the last time I was really wasted, to be honest. I've got a visitor. My cat has just joined us, so sorry about that. The last time I air guitared was probably the last time I was really pissed, to be honest. That is drunk in the UK terms, by the way, not angry. But yeah, I'm partial to a bit of air guitar when a bit of Bohemian Rhapsody comes on, or Hotel California. I don't mind, I'm not shy. Whether it looks cool is another thing, of course. Let's have a look. The next question is, when did you last dance on your own like an idiot? Last Saturday night. I went out with a few friends in Newcastle, and for some reason I was left standing because my company all took the sofas, and I was left there, and some song came on, so I decided to start shuffling and tapping my head to the beat, and probably looking like a right knob, to be honest. And again, who cares? On a scale of 1 to 10, how good a dancer are you? Not very, to be honest. I would say I'm probably a 3 or a 4 if I had to choose a number. I'm not terrible, I've got some coordination, but don't get me wrong, I wouldn't clear the floor at all, you know. I think I would need to be cleared off the floor, to be honest. So, yeah, I can get by on basics. Left to right, shuffling, that kind of thing. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good a dancer do you think you are when wasted? Probably have a bit more guts when I'm wasted. I might be a bit more daring and try and bust a few moves that are great in my head but don't exactly come out right. So it's probably going to be a bit higher if I'm absolutely wasted out my brain, which might be, I'd probably say maybe a 7 and 8. I'm being very generous there. The best gig you've ever been to? The best best gig that I've ever been to is in 1992. I went to the Phoenix Rock Festival in Stratford-upon-Avon, and I was huge on the Stone Roses, massive on the Stone Roses, and I thought they were going to be playing there, and they weren't. This was before the internet, by the way. Somebody had told me that the Stone Roses were playing, and so I decided I had to go there, and they weren't playing there. In fact, they were probably split up by the time that came around. But I did see Paul Weller. I did see Bob Dylan, who was fantastic. Didn't play anything that I knew, though. He was trying to plug his new stuff. But I had a great time camping out for those few days. And I remember these Hells Angels putting wheelie bins on the campfire, and the fire brigade coming to in the middle of the night. So it wasn't exactly peace and love and Woodstock that I'd hoped it would be. In fact, it was a eclectic mix of people that you wouldn't even thought would have went there, to be honest. But in retrospect, I saw some legendary names there, and I was really pleased that I went. So yeah, Phoenix 92, the best gig I've ever been to. Not really a question, I just think you should reconsider your answer if you didn't put at least 10 for number 7. That's the question on Iggy Pop. Whoever wrote this is seriously an Iggy Pop fan. Do you share any musical tastes with your parents? Does it put you off when they like the same music you do? I think it's an age thing. I think when you're a teenager and you're trying to find your identity, you just want to be the polar opposite of whatever your parents stand for. And I've been through that as well, to be honest. But now, in retrospect, my dad likes some seriously cool music. He was big on Black Sabbath, big on Led Zeppelin, big on Free and Slade. My mum, just into kind of general chart stuff, to be honest. I don't ever remember loving a particular artist at all. But my dad isn't here anymore, and yeah, I think as you get older, you just start to appreciate a lot more scope of things. I think that musical snobbery is something that you do when you're younger, but you kind of start to appreciate a wider and eclectic range of music. Because at the end of the day, I think music is a universal language, whether you like it or not. It's all just a string of notes put together, just presented in a different way, I guess. Like sweets in different wrappers. What am I going on about, eh? I don't know. Okay. My favourite 3 genres of music. Okay. I like folk music. When I say folk, I don't mean playing some nose flute or anything like that. I like simple, stripped-down music. I like a guitar and a voice, or a piano and a voice. Very, very simple. When I say folk music, I mean stripped down and raw. People and music like that can really, really touch me in a big way. It can be very, very effective. But I don't mind a bit of pop. As I've getting older, I appreciate just good songs, good singer-songwriters, regardless whether you're Busted McFly, whether you are anybody. But we'll say folk. I like pop, and what else is there? Reggae, rock. Yeah, rock is classic. I don't mind rock one bit. which decade do you wish you'd grown up in? I've realised that I've stopped writing on the board, and that is purely because she has decided to join me. So, sorry about that. Which decade do you wish you'd grown up in so you could have lived through that generation of music? I think I've already answered that one. It is unresoundedly the 60s. I wished I'd been about 18-year-old in 65. It was a tremendously fertile period of creativity for singer-songwriters. There was so much going on. That was breaking new ground. I love the jangly sound, West Coast sound of the Byrds and the Lovin' Spoonful. I would absolutely love to have been around then, and a lot of my musical influences are all from that particular genre. So yeah, the 1960s. Cool music, cool clothes. I just loved it. Favourite guilty pleasure music? Let's think about that one. Okay, Ollie Murs. Might not have heard of him over the States, or anywhere else for that matter, but Ollie Murs is, on the face of it, he's a Simon Cowell puppet. But I do think he's incredibly charismatic. He's very hardworking, and he's a good performer. Not cool at all. For my gender, I guess, it tends to be a lot of girls that like Ollie Murs. But I think he's alright. I would have a pint with him, maybe. So yeah, Ollie Murs. Other ones, ABBA, I guess. Everybody likes a bit of ABBA when they're on the dance floor, or when they're out, you can just sing along. Not exactly guilty, I'm not really bothered, to be honest. You can tell I'm running out of inspiration now, can't you? Fuck it, if you had a choice to choose a song to listen to forever, what would it be? I have to read that one again. If you tell me of inspiration, can't you? If you had to choose a song to listen to forever, what would it be? California Dreamin' by Mamas and the Papas. I've listened to it constantly for about 10 years. It's always on my playlist. I always put it on a jukebox when I go in a pub. To me, it's 2.5 minutes of pure pop, pure harmonies, feel good, vibe to it, and it never ceases to make me smile. So California Dreamin', the original one by the Mamas and Papas. Do you write music? And if so, why? I do write music. Why? Because I'm naturally creative. I often get a melody, because the thing that strikes me about music is melody. I'm always drawn to a melody, and lyrics maybe, I'm not sure, but everybody's got that something that attracts them, whether it's bass, whether it's percussion, but yeah, I do write songs, and I always come up with arrangements, and I've now got GarageBand on the Mac, and I enjoy playing the guitar and putting my own vocals in and putting down a percussion on there myself. So I really, really enjoy that. And why do I write? Because it's in me. I've got lots and lots of songs. I did an EP years ago. I used to be the front man in a band called Sidewinder. That didn't last too long. We did 2 gigs. But I used to go out and do some singing on my own as well, semi-professionally. And yeah, I made quite a bit of money doing that. Doing covers, of course, but yeah, I do enjoy writing songs because I'm naturally creative. I write a lot as well, as in scripts. And it's something that I need to do. It's something that's in me. lot of enjoyment out of it. It helps me forget the world and relax. And I often look up and it's about 4 hours later and I've just been doing this one thing endlessly. So, do you still buy music? And what are your thoughts on downloading? The sad thing is I don't physically buy music anymore. I don't buy CDs. They gather a lot of dust, I guess. Where are you going? She's left us. Yeah. Downloading. I've switched to more downloading now, I guess. And it works for me. I used to have reservations about if your phone crashed or if you lost your phone, would you be able to retrieve that? But obviously you can, through iTunes, which costs 79 pence per download. You can easily retrieve it on any other PC, MacBook, PC or phone. So I am an advocate of the download now, but I do miss having that product in your hand, the CD, more so the LP. And I've rediscovered the magic of the LP, and I've been looking through all my old stuff, and yeah, but I guess it's the way things go, things move on, and you have to move on with it on the whole, but there's nothing wrong with having a small part of your heart still, looking back fondly and remembering things. But yeah, download all the way. It makes sense, and it's so easy to share things now, and it's very easy from a songwriter's perspective to get your songs done and completed and uploaded somewhere for people to listen to. So I'm really enjoying this generation, and I think it's looking good. Right, let's have a look. And question 22, favourite guitar solo? Guitar solo. Hotel California, that wonderful, wonderful section, which everybody probably secretly guitars to be honest. And Hotel California by the Eagles is a wonderful song, a classic song, timeless. Last song. What song would you karaoke to? Oh, I like to get my teeth into a good old Rat Pack song. So a bit of Frank Sinatra, a bit of Dean Martin, a bit of Sammy Davis Jr. Really, really meaty songs to get your teeth into as a vocalist. And of course it doesn't have to be serious, you can have some fun. So yeah, I like to belt out a good old Frankie song when I've had a few jars. What better? So yeah, that's it, I think. Is that the last one? Yeah, I believe it is. Well, I've answered those questions quite easily, which is surprising. But I do hope you've enjoyed this little ramble, and I will see you soon. So thanks once again, and take care.